When you've tried everything to help your child's executive functioning skills so that they can do better at home, school, and even in their friendships, I don't want you to do anything else without first learning about your child's executive functioning skills. Learning about your child's 11 executive functioning skills is so many times the fast pass, easy button, the secret to really make changes so that your kids can finally start seeing the progress that you're looking for them. The thing is that once you know what executive functioning skills your child is actually struggling with, then and only then can you put in pieces of resources, supports that actually help them in the areas that they struggle with. In this video, I'm gonna go over exactly how to do it. I'm gonna show you how I do it when families work with me, and you're gonna get a step-by-step on exactly how to do this with your own child. If you're working with me one-on-one, I can do it for, basically 5 years old and up. But for this video, you parents at home can do this basically for your 6-year-old, middle school, elementary school, teenager, and even your college age. This same method will be so valuable and it will save you so much time, effort, and energy. Before we go any further, it's super important that we're all on the same page when it comes to executive functioning skills. We're gonna go over 3 things that you need to be aware of when looking through the lens of executive functioning skills. Number 1, executive functioning skills develop for everyone. What does that mean? That from the ages of 6 months all the way to your mid-20s, late 20s, your executive skills will and can improve. We see this with the 6-month-old that starts being able to play peekaboo across the room. Then we see it with a 5-year-old when they remember to start doing, 2 or 3 step tasks. And we see it with our middle schoolers and teenagers when they can actually remember a full class of 6 different teachers, what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Your executive functioning fingerprint. There is no exact time frame when executive functioning skills develop. You're never going to see a hard rule, this skill develops by this age, and then the next skill develops by this age. That's because it's almost like a spiral development, right? Just like the last example, we have the 6-month-old working memory, and we see it again and develop all the way through your teenagers working memory. So that's very important to keep in mind. There is no one hard and fast time frame for executive functioning skills to develop. And I actually love this because this gives us a whole bunch of possibilities on how to make improvements. This one is executive functioning skills are really a combination of what's happening in your environment and what's built in. So what's in your neurology, right? We use both of them to improve executive functioning skills. Actually, executive functioning skills many times developed based on the environment and what's happening. School is a perfect example, right? You go through your day. If I have Mrs. Smith, I know that it's the morning time. When everybody's getting up and going, okay, next class. So your environment really helps keep you organized. It helps keep you on task. It helps you start things. It helps you finish things. And it helps you what to do next. Your neurology really helps you. That's just what you have, right? It's built into your systems, but this doesn't mean that we can't make it better. So when addressing executive functioning skills, we actually want to hit both. We want to support the environment. We want to help change the environment. We want to build systems, and we want to tap into the neurology piece of it, and we want to help make changes in the brain so that your processing gets faster, so that your working memory gets better, so that your ability to focus gets easier. As far as the actual executive functioning skills, there are 11. I follow the SMART but scattered model. Some models combine some of them and they say they're 9, but for this video, we're not going to get into all 11 of them. If you want to get into all 11 of them, you can grab my executive functioning guide where I go over all 11 of them in detail. What we are going to do for this video is I want to make sure we categorize them into 2 areas. Executive functioning skills help you get things done and help you think about getting things done. So those are the 2 areas. We have our thinking skills and we have our actual doing skills. The thing is, with the executive functioning skills that are thinking, we may not always see them in action, right? These are skills like flexibility, like metacognition, which is thinking about thinking, right? Being able to problem solve. We may not see difficulties in attention, right? We may not see, I'm really having a hard time following with this teacher. Sometimes it looks like they're spaced out, but sometimes it looks like they're paying attention, but they're just not able to absorb the information. The doing skills, I feel like, are a little more obvious, and those are the ones that I get lots of reports from teachers and parents. The most common is being organized, right? We can definitely see that. Being late, we can definitely see not being able to keep track of time, showing up late. We also see forgetting things as a big red flag, really easy to spot. But the important thing for you to take away for the purpose of today's video, which is knowing how to hit the easy button on helping your child's executive functioning, is that basically these skills are divided into two categories. Some are very obvious for us to see and notice, and some aren't. So when it comes to learning about your child's executive functioning skills, I break this down into 3 steps. First thing that we need to do is we need to collect data, right? We need to put on our detective hat, we need to observe, ask questions, wonder, and figure out why are they having such a hard time with this. I do this with a couple of variations. If I see you in person, I make lots of observations. If I'm in a classroom with you, it's a great place to observe, right? But even if I'm not with you, I still have a great feel for your executive functioning skills by asking questions to the parents. I have a questionnaire that the parents can get really practical experiences that happen in their everyday life that can really help us pinpoint what executive functioning skill needs emergency treatment. If I'm dealing with a mature elementary school kiddo, teenager, high schooler, college student for sure, I get to ask the student himself. So I'll get the parent's perspective and I can get the student's perspective as well. So that's a great way to collect data and see which area is my child really struggling in. So that way I can come in and pull the resources, give them the support so that they can start getting better at that. A little reminder, when you're doing this, let's not get so caught up in that it's the exact skill. We just want more or less a range of the areas that they're struggling with. And as we move along the process, we'll be able to pinpoint more. Once you have your data and you have kind of a grasp of which skills your child is struggling with, we want to look and we want to kind of interpret and say, okay, now that we have this information, where is it actually showing up? This example is a beautiful way to explain this. I had a family and by the time they came to me, they had been really working on organization, right? So let's reorganize the closet, let's reorganize the backpack, new containers, new bins, new pencil cases. And that really didn't really help this student keep track of her stuff and remember to do things and make things easier. When we went through the list and we collected our data and we interviewed and we asked questions, what happened was we realized that mom, very good intention and very, obvious, is to help with organization. But where this child was really struggling wasn't so much organization, which is why she didn't make so much progress. It was really with planning and prioritizing what to do next. So, we could have all the bins and containers in the world, but if we don't know exactly where to begin in the great big project of, let's say, organizing our room, the containers aren't going to help. They might alleviate a little bit, but they're not going to build that independent, self-motivated action that we want to see when we're looking at executive functioning skills. So back to this mom and child that really needed to work on prioritization. What we did was the 3 of us came up with kind of a prioritization matrix. Sounds complicated, but it's not. It's really just several questions. What's important? What do I need to do next? What's going to be the fastest thing to do? And what's going to, get things off my list the fastest. The questions vary for everybody. So in the beginning, yes, you're probably thinking that's great, but I can't get my child to answer those questions. You're right, because in the beginning we have to scaffold, which means we really support them by doing it together. So I'm helping mom, reminding her to help her daughter to ask herself those questions, because this way her daughter's learning the skill of how to prioritize versus, hey mom, what should I do next, right? This happens a lot in school. Your teacher will tell you, I want you to do the math worksheet first, then the spelling words. But we need to transfer that thinking to our kids so that they can start being independent with it. And this is exactly how it worked out for that mom. And in the beginning, it was a lot of mom helping the child go through the questions. And eventually the child would kind of mirror the questions back to the parent before she was able to take the skill on her own. And that's why it was so successful, because she got the support, she got the right skill, the right activities to support her skill, and she was able to transition little by little. It's not like we just, you know how to swim, we're going to send you to the deep end now of the pool. We got her there little by little, so when she did jump into the deep end of the pool, she was ready to go. Then this leads us to the last part of this, is where we really need to put a plan of action into place with the right supports so that the skill becomes independent for the student. So collecting data, figuring out what skill is it that your child is really struggling with is imperative. This is going to be night and day. It's going to take away the guesswork. It's going to take away random tips and tricks. And most importantly, why I really like this is because it gets your kid to trust you. So many times when we come in, let's try this, and it doesn't work. That's one more kind of like strike we get against us when we're trying to get our kids on board with us trying to help them, right? Trying to give them the skills they need. So once we have a fine-tuning account of what exactly do we need to work on, there's more likely a chance that we pull in the right activity that your kid's going to be able to see some progress, and then it's going to build their trust in, hey, okay, we're on the right track here. Let's do more of this. Second thing you need to do is, once you collect all the data, you need to interpret the data, figure out what to do, how you're going to do it, get somebody to help you come up with a plan, and then put it into action, right? Put it into action. One caveat with this, so many times I hear, we tried this and it didn't work. And when we start asking questions, what we tried was a random tip and a trick. We didn't really have a plan, and weren't really able to link what we tried to the actual need that the child had. And then we probably tried to do it by ourselves, which meant we didn't have enough maybe confidence, maybe support, maybe we kind of even doubted that it was going to work. So when we tried it, we kind of tried it haphazardly and like, well, let's see if it works. And maybe if after a day, 2 days, maybe even after a week, it didn't work, we kind of threw it out the window and said, oh, this isn't going to work. When in reality, we need to start off really small, build momentum, and then make sure that it works, and then keep going with it little by little so we can see those permanent changes that we know our kids need. So how do you get to do that, right? How are you going to do that, right? So you can pull resources from the community, but right here in this video, like I promised you, I have a resource for you, which goes over the 11 executive functioning skills. You're going to get a guide just like this, should be coming out on the screen, and you are going to look at all the 11 executive functioning skills. It's a brief, short description of the skill. The purpose of this assessment is for you to know what your kid is good at and what your kid needs to improve in so that life becomes easier for them, right? There are 11 of these skills. Do I want you to work on all 11 at the same time? Absolutely not. So we'll go through the skill. What I like to do is I like to invite you to read this all one time, right? Then go back and read it with a set of eyes. You're looking for what is your child good at first. So you have the skill, you have the brief description. What does it look like in action when it's working? And here it's like, what does it look like when the wheels are falling off the bus, right? Try and use this document for what's happening now. A lot of times we like to bird's eye view and go back to, 2 years ago, preschool, kindergarten, third grade. But let's look at what's happening this week, this month, maybe the last 2 months, okay? And I really, really want you to find something that your kiddo is good at. It might not be academics. It might not be in the academic setting. It might be at home. It might be as a friend. It might be as a sibling. But you must find several things that your kiddo is good at. 3 is the most that I want you to find. So when you're going through this, just simple, you can put a happy face right over here. You can put a plus sign. We're going to keep it very simple. And then the ones that your kiddo is really struggling with, you put a little minus, right? I want you to look for the things your child is good at, because number 1, that is going to make you feel hopeful, right? It's going to remind you that executive functioning skills develop differently, like I said in the video, for everyone, okay? So, and it's also going to reframe from, oh my gosh, these are all the things that my kid is really struggling with and really bad at, which kind of closes our mind for possibilities. And when we look at things that we're good at, it kind of puts us in a place of like, oh, we have endless possibilities because we are already good at these things. Okay. And that becomes very important for sustaining what the parents need to really support and help their child get through these executive functioning challenges. If you happen to have, let's say, 7 with a minus, the next step is I want you to read it again, read all the parts again, and then start to figure out, okay, well, they really struggle with this skill more than this one. Or this skill, I see it at school, at home, I see it when they go to soccer practice. So this one is going to take priority over the other one, okay? When you are done, ideally, I would like for you to have 3 skills that you're able to recognize that your kid is great at. And if they're not great, well, maybe they're good at it. And if they're not good, then maybe they just don't have any struggles with it, okay? But it's super important that you look for the wins. Look for what your kid is good at, right? And then it's important for them to realize, this is what I'm actually good at, okay? The second part I want you to do is I want you to pull out what your child is struggling with, right? And I want you to limit it to 3, not 5. I will say this, many times you'll see here, you'll have, let's say, task initiation, which is the ability to get something started, right? And then we have sustained attention, which is the ability, you have to have started the task, done the task, and completed the task. So as you can see, those are all really attention related, right? So I will give you this. If you really can't separate them, I will let you combine the task initiation part and the sustained attention if you feel like you just can't give up any of them. But really try and limit it to 3, okay? And then once you have that, you have a very powerful resource at your fingertips, right? You are now able, instead of randomly looking for how to improve my child's executive functioning, or my kid keeps forgetting everything, what do I do? Or, my child has 3,000 missing assignments, how do I help? Now you can talk to teachers, talk to therapists. I'm looking for activities that will help my child with task initiation, getting started on a task. So do you see how we narrow it down from like remember there's 11, that's a lot of executive functioning skills. All of the executive functioning skills, we are now able to funnel it into 3 executive functioning skills. If your child is, let's say, 10 and up, if they're up to it, if they're not, it's okay. Have them go through this assessment on their own or with you, and then you guys get to have a great conversation. I've seen so many great conversations come from this about the different executive functioning skills. So when we're looking for resources, we're looking for what in the world to do, we actually have a pretty good foundation of what to do. I work with parents just like you in helping you pull the resources and the supports to help your child, right? We do a deeper dive into, okay, what does this look like? Is it really task initiation? Is it sustained attention? The free guide that you have linked below, and the steps that I just described to you, you will have a very powerful resource to put you on the right track to help your kid.